Flat pedals versus clipless pedals. It's one of those topics that creates little pockets of debate in the mountain bike community. So I'm going to do my own test riding both of these styles of pedals and giving you my feedback on what the pluses and minuses are of each style of pedal. Now I will say this comparison is coming from someone who has ridden clipless pedals for over 25 years. From road bikes to mountain bikes to cyclocross bikes. It's all that I've used over that time period. I have not ridden a pure flat pedal since my BMX days. When I first got into mountain biking, I used toe clips. So I used regular shoes, but I was able to lock my foot onto the pedal with the toe strap. And here's some video that I shot a few days ago of that BMX bike. So this is my Hutch Pro Racer from back in the mid to early 80s. And I haven't really ridden this thing since I was a teenager, but I can't get rid of this. I have so many memories on this bike. So this is the last bike I ever rode with flat pedals. And I used to jump this bike, I raced this bike. These are MKS Graphite X pedals, but these didn't even have pins on them. So today's pedals have pretty sharp pins that you can replace. Compared to those types of pedals, these graphite ones had almost no grip. I wore my Vans with these, and they were not even toe clips. I didn't even know what toe clips were back then, much less clipless pedals. So at this point, I don't even know what shoes I'm going to wear when I use the flat pedals. I don't have my Vans from my BMX days, so I'll have to find a pair of shoes, probably tennis shoes, that are going to give some decent grip onto these flat pedals. I'll be using my cross-country bike for this comparison. And I do realize that trail and enduro bikes are where you'll see the higher percentage of flat pedals being used, but some people will still use them on cross-country bikes. The trails that I'll be riding for this comparison are more cross-country oriented, but I think they'll give me a good idea of the advantages and disadvantages of these styles of pedals. These are the clipless pedals that I currently have on my cross-country bike. They're a newer pair of Shimano XTR. Now I'm going to take these off and I will put on the flat pedals. Alright, there's something I thought I'd never see. Flat pedals on one of my mountain bikes. At least they match the suspension hardware. So I will pick this video back up when I hit the trails with the flat pedals, and I'll let you know what they're like after riding clipless pedals for over 25 years. Getting ready for my ride, and instead of wearing these, I'm going to be wearing these. I am getting ready to mountain bike in tennis shoes. These are the only ones that I found that were having any kind of decent grip. These are my old tennis shoes. I wish I had a pair of Vans. I feel like such a noob. Maybe I should wear my helmet like this. This is the look we're going for today. No, I can't do that. But I am swallowing my pride for the sake of mountain bike science. All right, let's roll. Okay, so after the first 5 minutes, here are my thoughts. So, my feet are moving around, and my right foot is moving around more than my left foot, so I don't know why. But the right heel has been contacting the chainstay because my toes go out. I'm one of those people where I walk with my feet pointed out, and so the clipless pedals kind of keep that in check, and with these pedals they can't do that, obviously, and so my feet are sliding around a little bit and my heel has hit the crank arm and the chainstay. So what I've really noticed is you really develop your riding style based on the type of pedal you're using. And again, this is just after the first 5 minutes. And I actually feel less confident in the corners because I realized I use the fact that my feet are locked into the pedals to help push the rear end of the bike around the corner. And it's not like drastic or anything, but with the clipless pedals, with the flat pedals, I can't do that. So, and I did come off the pedals one time on a little Rudy section. So anyway, that's a report after the first 5 minutes. Now I want to give my thoughts on flat pedals after I'm back at home and spent a little over an hour riding the flat pedals, and I want to talk about the advantages and disadvantages of the flat pedals and who I think would benefit from them. First of all, sprinting and climbing out of the saddle. Over the years, I've developed a style of pulling up on the pedal that's coming up. So if I'm pushing down on the right pedal, I'm pulling up on the left and vice versa. And I've learned to do that to get a little bit more power out of my stroke. And you cannot do that with a flat pedal. Now there's a little bit of a debate about whether there's a better power transfer with clipless pedals. I feel like there is if you've developed your riding style to do that, to pull up on the upstroke pedal. So that's where I feel like clipless pedals are going to have an advantage. Another thing that I've developed over the years, and whether it's a good habit or bad habit, when it comes for me to lift the bike up over logs, especially J-hopping, so front wheel up and then rear wheel, I'm jumping up a little bit and pulling up on both feet using the fact that I'm locked in to get the rear end of the bike up. When I was riding the flat pedals, I couldn't get the rear end of the bike to save my life. Now I used to bunny hop my BMX bike pretty high way back in the day. It would really take me a lot of practice to learn how to do that again. And so when it came time to go over even just like, 4 or 5 inch roots that I typically would get the back end up to just make the ride smoother, I couldn't do that with the flat pedals, again, because I've developed that riding style with the clipless pedals of being clipped in to get the rear end of the bike up. I would say that downhills over rough terrain is where I felt the most awkward on the flat pedals. There were times where my feet would kind of start to move forward on the flat pedals. Now, the caveat with that is the pedals that I was using only have 2 pins on each side. Some of the flat pedals have 6 pins or more. And I was using tennis shoes. Now the tennis shoes that I was using had some pretty soft soles. They weren't like true tennis shoes. But I would benefit more, obviously, from having a true set of riding shoes. And I said Vans. I mean, Vans are dated. I'm dating myself. But there are some pretty good shoes made just for riding flat pedals. And I don't think I would have near that issue with those type of shoes and better pedals on the rougher terrain. But I did feel just I wasn't in control near as much on a rougher downhill with the flat pedals. I do want to say that this gives me a lot of respect for you guys out there who ride flat pedals on rough, chunky terrain. I was watching Brian and Alex in their Redemption 17 video the other day, and they were riding Laurel Mountain and Pilot Rock. Trail that I've ridden quite a few times, and that gets pretty chunky. And the first time I actually rode that, I was on a 3-inch travel cross-country bike by myself, and that trail is out there, so that probably wasn't the safest thing. But I see these guys riding flat pedals, and man, it gives me a lot of respect. By riding the flat pedals, I've identified 3 advantages to using these. One is the obvious, and that is when you are cornering and you start to wash out, you can easily just pull your foot off the pedal and put it on the ground. Kind of like a motocross rider, kind of picking a foot off and just leaving it off the pedal, or just being able to pull it off really easily if you need to. Now, riding clipless pedals for so long, I've actually developed a riding style of feeling very comfortable with my feet locked in. Even in cyclocross races where I see some guys on off-camber sections unclip a foot and just kind of hold it out, I don't do that. I'm so comfortable with my feet clipped in, and I'm also very comfortable at clipping out really quickly if I have to. It's just second nature to me. So even if the bike starts to wash out, I'm unclipped before I even think about it. And it's taken years of riding clipless pedals to be able to do that. But it's just, especially for new riders, riding on flat pedals, you're able to just pick your foot off really quick whenever you need to. So that's probably one of the biggest advantages of flat pedals. Another advantage is just the fact that the shoes are a lot more comfortable. I mean, walking around in regular bike shoes that go in clipless pedals they're just clunky, especially on hike-a-bike sections. just getting off the bike and walking around to, you know, get a coffee or a drink or whatever during a ride, or just, you know, after the ride, if you don't want to just change shoes. I mean, the shoes that you use to ride flat pedals, they look cool, and they can be street shoes. So that's another advantage, just more comfortable shoes, especially if you're on a ride and you've got to hike or walk. It's just a lot more comfortable. And finally, a third advantage, which isn't huge, but I think it's there, is the fact that sometimes with clipless pedals, you can get what's called hot spots. So because your foot is locked in and you're putting the pressure on the same point of your foot all the time, you can get a hot spot, and that's just kind of pain in the bottom of the foot in one area. Now, I don't have that problem on a mountain bike near as much as I would on a road bike or a long gravel ride. Then I can get those hot spots. On flat pedals, you can just move your foot around. So if you're getting you know, pins or something, some part of the pedal pushing on one part of the foot and it's uncomfortable, you can just easily shift your foot around to distribute the weight differently. So that's another advantage of riding flat pedals. Now, one point that I do want to make is if you ride clipless pedals, going the flat pedals just to help develop your riding a little bit better, there's some advantage to that, because you do have to ride differently, learning how to keep your foot more planted on the pedal. Again, learning how to J-hop or bunny hop differently. That is a way to kind of increase your riding skills if you choose to do so. Another point to make is if you ride clipless pedals but you've had a problem not being able to unclip when your front tire starts to wash out or on rough sections, there is the option of going with multi-release cleats. So Shimano's product code for that is SH56. So those are actually cleats, and I'll link a video below that I made showing those, because they are excellent for beginners and even experienced riders who ride rough terrain who want to be able to clip out easily. Basically, with the multi-release, your foot will clip out any direction except for straight up. So if this is the pedal and this is your shoe, any direction you move your foot except for straight up, your foot will come out. So the most common scenario on clipless pedals is the bike starts to go sideways and you're just trying to get your foot out to put your foot down, and you have to click it completely sideways with a regular cleat. With the multi-release, you can just kind of pick your foot off to the side. So that's an option if you want to look into it. So to answer the question, did I enjoy riding the flat pedals? My riding experience was not as good as riding clipless pedals. I'm not going to switch to flat pedals. I just enjoy riding clipless pedals better. I feel like I have more control over the bike. I can get over stuff. I can ride more aggressively. Now, people who ride flat pedals all the time are probably going to be able to ride more aggressively than people who just try flat pedals. They're going to be able to ride aggressively, just like I can ride aggressively with a clipless pedal. So, like I said, it's just developing your riding style. There really is no right or wrong. Now, I think one of the biggest advantages to clipless pedals is sprinting and climbing out of the saddle. I do feel like you get more power transfer with clipless pedals over flat. I know it's debatable, but that's my experience by doing this test. So that's going to wrap up my analysis of comparing flat pedals and clipless pedals. I would love to hear your comments, your experience. Which one do you use and why? And have you tried the other one, and what was your experience like with that? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching.